Hey everyone. Big yawn yesterday from Apple, huh? You're watching Textron Gang.
Hey folks, we're back and we're talking about some weird stuff because, well, a software supply chain involving the cryptographic community or the folks that make all that lovely funny money kind of just went crazy and wild. And there was a maintainer of what's known as the Node Package Manager, and they were phished, and then they wound up putting code into all these different tools that these folks were using. And before you knew it, this malware was everywhere. And it seemed to just happen accidentally and instantaneously. And fortunately, I think they got it back under control. But Ira, is this kind of like a sign of things to come? Because all these interdependencies in our software supply chain, it just seems to take one mistake and it takes everything down.
This is a sign of what has been going on for a long, long time. Because at the end of the day, this was a phishing attack. What happened at a high level appears to be that, somebody went ahead and phished a lot of developers and basically went ahead and all these developers, like reset your password, like all these phishing messages do. And basically, all these developers changed their passwords. There was a man in the middle compromise of multi factor authentication. But the reality of the situation is we've seen these attacks time and time again. Ironically, in this case, the end result from what I read was that it was essentially an option to try to steal crypto coins and everything like that, which we have seen many times before in supply chain attacks. I think one of the more notorious ones, I don't I'm not sure. I think it's Bitwallet or something. I am not positive about that, but there was an incident where a major crypto wallet, basically what happened was they were compromised, not because they were compromised, but because they took a library program in, an open source library program, and somebody basically hacked, or I don't even think they hacked, the developer of this one piece of open source software that then got pulled into the application, whatever it happened to be. And then the criminal had full control over the crypto wallets and stole lots of money. And this happened 4 or 5 years ago, I think, right now. So what we're seeing now is essentially, why do criminals do this? That's where the money is. In this case, we saw it for very specifically a crypto theft. The reality, though, is we have seen these phishing attacks time and time again. And to see these major developers, especially with software supply chains, being able to be compromised so simply, and so quickly, without any verification of the software, this is where the problems become. And this has been going on for a while, and this will go on as long as people still want open source software, common tool sets without verifying and doing the analysis of the software. It's probably much more efficient to keep allowing these things to happen than to invest in all the checking that would have to go on. But we need to have much more of a rapid response going forward. We need to have more of a verification process. And I never ever want to hear anyone's talk about stupid users being phished when this is an example of some of the top software developers in the world being phished. I'll
Well,
leave
the
it there.
yeah, the challenge is that you have when we think about just security in general, when we hear about a lot of these breaches, it's always a very simple and common breach, right? We always think that, oh, it must be some sort of sophisticated hacker that created this devastating scheme that's going to, extract, millions and billions of dollars from these companies. And if you think about it, just within corporate America, when they have every employee go through this is how you understand cybersecurity in your company. This is how you understand phishing scams. It's easy because you end up ignoring that, thinking, it's never going to happen to me. I can detect that. So just attack the smart guys and you see what happens, right? Because like I said, this was a very simple way of doing this. This wasn't anything super sophisticated, and they're able to just basically transfer a lot of this money within the crypto space. So I think what we're seeing is that simplicity with a lot of these issues when it comes to tech and cybersecurity and breaches is always something very simple and less sophisticated than we think.
Well, let me just say, oh, sorry, just one quick point though. The attack itself was pretty simple and straightforward, done a lot. But there is sophistication in the targeting that went in, the research that went in, and this is where criminals are putting effort in. But you're right, the fundamental technology is simple, but don't downplay the amount of research criminals will do. So,
Yeah,
sorry, go
definitely.
ahead, Tina.
No, I totally agree with that, 100%, 100%. But I think what typically happens is when we think about what type of attack this is what's going to happen, we don't think, oh, developers going to hit with a phishing attack. The average anyone in the software industry would say, I doubt that would actually ever happen to these top tier developers. But yeah, there definitely was a lot of planning and sophistication, right? Simply, like I said, the best plans are the simplest in terms of how you do it. So the amount of research, like you said, that they put into this was very well calculated and very well planned.
Well, I think Ira hit on like what I was gonna say. So there, these gangs, because they like to call them gangs, whatever, it's not necessarily that. A lot of times it's nation states and it's big business and they are run like big businesses. And if you're a small business wanting to get into the ransomware gang, you can go and subscribe to a SaaS service and they will provide you with the code you need. They'll provide you with the marketing that you need because literally phishing is marketing and it has to be done very well so it will trick people like these top tier developers so it will look authentic and you have to figure out who your target is. You have to figure out how to reach them, what their email address is. So the people that are doing this and actually the attack was pretty sophisticated. It was pretty interesting that the code was obfuscated. They figured that out right away. But then it did things like it changed what you typed in and what they actually decided to capture and the output looked normal when it came back. So they did a lot of pretty neat tricks that were very elegantly done, but when it looks that simple, it's never that easy. So I think the thing we miss on a lot of times when we talk about ransomware is that this is big business because there's big money behind it and they have sophisticated marketing, sophisticated coding. And by the way, generative AI is helping that be much easier for them to do.
Absolutely,
I
it's
mean,
right.
yeah, I mean, fundamentally, like I've seen these attacks again for decades. Is there sophisticated? The problem is, I don't necessarily think the coding's sophisticated. I look at this as professional. I wrote a book called Advanced Persistent Security, making fun of the concept of advanced persistent threat. Because the concept is, whether these are criminals or nation state, frankly, doesn't matter. If there's money, they will put it like North Korea is very much on the money raising. Maybe I ran to a little bit, but generally, there's a lot of well-resourced criminal people who know exactly what these software programs are supposed to do, and this is their profession. And frankly, yes, these people are good at what they do, but if I take off the street a bunch of good developers, I don't want to say out of Apple because all the Silicon Valley's cliche, but I'm in the DC area. I could go find a lot of good developers who could develop this quality of software with this sophistication if I just say this is your job, and they
Well,
would be that good.
it's about it is the persistence. They are
It
persistent.
It's the persistence and it's doing it with style. It's like falling with style, I guess, if you want to another movie reference. But we've got to expect this. But again, I don't, fishing is fishing, but I still don't fundamentally say, oh, I was tricked into divulging my two-factor authentication and saying these are people. And the fundamental part is these people should theoretically know better, that they are not all of a sudden going to be locked out of their accounts. So we give way too much credit to technology people, especially developers, and companies like the people who maintain NPM are going to have to be a lot more expect their people to be as stupid as the stupid users they keep blaming for misusing their software that they're developing.
Absolutely agree with that.
All right. I got to pull the plug on this one, guys. We're about out of time. Hey, before we go off today, though, I feel compelled to just say a few things. First of all, we're recording this show on 9/11, right? It's the 24th anniversary of 9/11. And I was in New York last week with my wife, and we went to make a reservation because my wife's up in the city today. And we asked the young girl, a hostess at a restaurant, about a reservation. And we said, it's 9/11. It might be different. She said, oh, yeah, that's right. 9/11. Isn't that some kind of holiday like Veterans Day or something? Well, we've done a terrible job, I guess, of keeping our young people aware of what happened on 9/11, but what it really represents. That we live in a very dangerous world. And if we needed any reminder of it, yesterday, 9/10, was a great reminder where, whether you agree or disagree, and I'm not going to get into it, someone was shot for their beliefs, for stating their beliefs. The same day, 3 people were killed in a high school with gun violence. We have a serious problem in this country, right? We don't solve things with guns. It shouldn't be solving with guns. And we should never have to resort to violence to silence someone. I don't care what side of this argument you're on. It's wrong. It's not American, it's wrong, and it's not healthy. So, on this Friday, take this weekend, remember the victims of 9/11. Remember how it brought us together as a country, as Americans. And that's all I got to say. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye bye.